Test 1, 2. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Allegany County Board of Education for June 6, 2023. Please stand for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Llewellyn, reading of the closed session summary for executive session on May 9th.
The Allegany County Board of Education met in closed session on May 9th, 2023 at 3 o'clock at the central office. The purpose of the closed session was to consult with legal counsel, discuss personnel matters, and to engage in administrative function. Crystal Bender, Dr. David Bond, Robert Farrell, and Lori Lepley voted to go into executive session. Tammy Fraley was not present. The topics discussed was 4-day work week, update on a criminal matter for trespass on school property, update on private agency impacting school attendance, advertising at Greenway Avenue Stadium.
Okay, down to the superintendent's report. Excuse me?
Consent agenda first. Consent agenda.
Oh, sorry. We're into the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Dr. Bond,
Second.
second by Crystal Bender. All those in favor? Approved. Superintendent's report. First up is a recognition of all ACPS retirees, and thank you for your service and dedication. I'll read your name. If you're here, please come up to Ms. Bender. And the first one's here. Mr. Short, 46 years at Braddock Middle School. And the second one, Carmel Goodwin, 42 years, Mountain Ridge. Elizabeth Geiger, 42 years, Allegany. James Busey, 37 years, Allegany. Christy Athey, 36 years, Flintstone. Diane Crabtree, 35 years, Northeast. Randy Stewart, 34 years, Fort Hill. Susan Duckworth, 34 years, Mount Savage. Jane Licklider, John Humbert. Diane Grove, 33 years, Cresaptown. Kimberly Cowell, 32 years, Westmar. Deborah Bower, 32 years, IT programmer, Central Office. Diane Erkman, 31 years, Westmar. Cynthia Folk, 30 years, Mountain Ridge. Yvonne Imes, 30 years, Fort Hill. Braden Schober, 30 years, Fort Hill. Barbara Lambert, 29 years, Georges Creek. Nicole Logston, 28 years, Instructional Assistant, Bell. Nadine Beachy, 27 years, Allegany. Margaret Garver, 24 years, South Penn. Linda Cawbaugh, 24 years, Food Service. Margie Rawlings, 22 years, Westmar. McCullough Hale, 21 years, Mountain Ridge. Michaela. Sheila Riggerman, 21 years, Westmar. Timothy Young, 20 years, Custodian, Allegany. Diana Taylor, 19 years, Secretary at Bel Air. Gina Nesmith, 19 years, Mount Savage. Nancy Smith, 17 years, South Penn. Tina Mullen, 15 years, Parkside. David Dickel, 13 years, Operations. Michael Dignan, 9 years, Career Center. Phyllis Washington, 6 years at Braddock. I think that's all of them. Thank you so much. Financial update, Mr. McKenzie. You all, if you want to leave, I get it. Thank you. Except for Mr. Short, he probably ought to stay. Take care.
Larry's upset they're not staying for the presentation.
Poor Larry.
That's good.
I'm excited for it, Larry. I'm here for you.
Nothing clears out a room like the word budget.
Microphone.
So for your consideration this evening is the adoption of the budget. And overall, the numbers basically mirror what was presented at the March 14th meeting. And as we discussed at that time, the budget does kind of check all the boxes of your priorities, making every effort to modernize current student programs and associated equipment for the technical and technical education and career out at CCTE programs. We've provided for educational recovery programs. We're maintaining and enhancing student safety and mental health with the positions we've provided and kept those in the budget, and that made it some additions as well. We've also provided for all the negotiated agreements as outlined, and as well as maintaining and enhancing the development for pre-K and our early childhood development. So those boxes continue to be checked with the proposed budget. It also has provided some transportation stabilization in that we're providing folks to help train drivers, which has been kind of one of our areas of weakness. We're providing support through special education to the infants and toddlers segment, which has been lacking in the past, as well as 4-lap IAs, an additional school security officer, as well as allocations that we've kind of struggled with some this year. We've had some increasing healthcare costs. Our local share of retirement cost has increased, as well as some of our utilities. So we've been able to address all of those items within the budget as it stands. So the budget actually did contract 1.2%. So revenues and expenses, as we had talked about previously, need to match. And they're $127,825,194 is presented. We also talked about the county's appropriation and that was mandated. That increase of 7.4% was basically mandated as a result of the blueprint requirements. And state aid was basically being flat. We did get a hold harmless based upon a funding formula anomaly. So as presented, we have a balanced budget without using fund balance at this time. So does anyone have any questions about anything as presented? No?
I think you have a question.
I don't have a question. I just want to thank you and your department for all the work that you did on the budget and getting it to this point. So congratulations
All right.
and thank you to
Thank you.
your staff,
Yep.
you and your staff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks.
Mr. Blank, we're going to jump you up to IT update.
Hello. I say you should never let a computer guy speak in public hearings. Mr. President, elected board, Superintendent Blank, thank you for your time. I wanted to give you guys a quick elevator pitch before we get into the presentation. And the presentation is going to be on Power School. But I found a quote I thought was appropriate. Data is not information. Information is not knowledge. Knowledge is not understanding, and understanding is not wisdom. Now, that quote's appropriate when we talk about Power School and our student information system. On the surface, a student information system is where we store our grades, attendance, and other elements of a student's progress through our system. But under the surface, it's much more. Under the surface is where we turn student data into knowledge and hopefully wisdom later on. It can impact student outcomes directly, and incomes, I guess, later on. The effectiveness of such a system shouldn't be measured by the ability to input data and generate reports, although we're going to talk about that, but rather by the ability to emerge leading indicators in effective educational methods. You're going to hear a lot about reports, not in this, but later on. You'll hear a lot about reports that we have to do for Blueprint and other things. The reports aren't just reports to be reports. The reports are reports to emerge that knowledge that makes us better at what we do. Okay? This practice comes out in the form of reports, but that's not where it ends. This new system, Blueprint, is imposing many, many complicated and frequent reports to provide disaggregated data that's sliced and diced many different ways, looking for that elusive knowledge that gets us better at what we do. Right now, we have several systems that are disparate, and pulling that data together is very difficult. So what Power School will do is give us a unified platform where all this data comes into one platform and allows us to generate not only the Blueprint reports, but also hopefully emerge some knowledge, and with the end goal of it being wisdom. So with that said, that's the elevator pitch. It was a long elevator. I'm going to go through this presentation briefly and talk a little bit about implementation. So currently, Allegheny County Public Schools use Aspen. We've used Aspen for several years now. Aspen's a good system. It's served us well. But most of the state, and I'll get into this, most of the state has gone to Power School. And in fact, MSDE has gone to Power School. So a lot of the reports they're requiring for Blueprint, and these are monthly reports that are very complicated, disaggregated data across multiple systems, are going to be difficult for us to do. There's only 2 counties in the state that use Aspen, us and Wacomico, I believe. 17 other counties use Power School, so out of 25, of course. So just to talk about this is kind of from their website, and I'm not going to read to you, that's boring. But what they talk about is automation, and that's the ability to schedule these reports and not have to have somebody working on them in finance, somebody working on them in HR, somebody working on them in IT month after month to generate the same report, because report frequency and complexity is definitely going up every time there's a new program. And we can go back to No Child Left Behind and through all the programs. It just gets more reports, more complicated. So the idea of workflow process, the idea of interoperability, and the idea of data analysis and the items under those become very important when we're looking at a student information system. Currently, we use 3 Power School products. They're on the chart there. I don't have to read them to you. Schoology, Naviance, and enrollment. Not enrollment, sorry, I don't have my glasses on. The last one that I can't see. Thank you. Recruitment, HR. With the new program, we'll be implementing these modules, which will replace Aspen and several other systems. And the idea is we're taking that siloed data that are all those separate systems and pulling them into one unified platform. With that, there's a product called Unified Insights by Power School that pulls data out of all those systems and generates those reports we need, and hopefully gives us that wisdom that we're looking for. Power School across Maryland, I talked about this a little bit. The main point on this is 17 out of 25 districts in Maryland use it, and MSDE has selected it for their Blueprint reporting platform. I'll let you look through this. I'm not going to read it to you. But this is their connected intelligence platform that talks about data acquisition, data consolidation, and data delivery. And that is getting the data in and massaging the data so it becomes knowledge, so that it can become wisdom. This talks a little bit about the way that the data strategy works in PowerSchool. And finally, the most important thing is the key benefits. The secure and unified platform is the reason that most people have chosen PowerSchool. Empowering stakeholders. We'll have much better communications with our parents through the PowerSchool platform. There's an app that they can look at all kind of things. Right now, they're not quite there for like a Blackboard replacement for communications, for cancellations and things like that. They don't have the voice component. They say it's coming. So when it's there, we'll roll that in also. All data in one location. I'm not going to talk about PowerSchool pricing right now unless you guys want me to. But what we're looking at is eliminating a lot of these other systems to help the blow of that cost. And it's an ongoing cost. It's a cloud-based system, so you do have that ongoing cost for the system. That's about it. Any questions?
I have one question. On the slide about the ones that you're going to utilize that we weren't utilizing before, so the one with the green and the blue circles.
Yep, I'm going to get
Slide
there.
4, I think.
There we go.
Yep. So is there a reason why we're not using some of them, specifically curriculum instruction and employee records? I can see for payroll and finance, because we have our own systems to do that, but for employee records and curriculum and instruction, is there a reason we're not looking at those?
Yeah, we recently implemented Munis, relatively recently, and that's handling our financial and HR piece. However, one part that wasn't in the slide deck is that Munis will feed directly into PowerSchool, so that unified communications accepts inputs from those two systems, the HR part of Munis and the financial part of Munis, and feeds those in for those reports to hopefully take the load off of finance staff, really, because it is very onerous at this point.
And then the curriculum and instruction, is it something just,
I have a feeling it's going to be coming later on.
Okay.
But that's really, IT doesn't want to be the tail wagging the dog, so it's going to be education that says we want that piece also.
understood? Thank you.
Dr. Kelball's here. She was, her team was instrumental in making the decision. Anything to add?
I think you actually covered everything. It started out as a real priority for our data collection because of all the monitoring reports we're doing. And so that really started out as the primary discussion of why we needed a more robust system to pull data from. And then as it evolved and Jeffrey T came on board, then we began looking at this PowerSchool, because we're already using it for Schoology and already using it for Naviance. And we just realized it was a much more robust system that would provide what we really needed moving forward for our teachers and our staff. And then I think you already mentioned the professional learning component of it that we will eventually be getting, which will be a great tool for recertification and as part of that curriculum instruction piece that we need. So it's been a great team working together. I do want to give a lot of credit to Dr. Van Slyke. He was instrumental in leading this work here the last few months as well. So we hope that you will help us move forward with this PowerSchool implementation.
I'm glad you said implementation. One thing I want to talk about implementation is the plan is to purchase PowerSchool this summer. It will be in IT for a year. So all of next school year, we will be integrating, implementing, working on the reports, getting everything set up for our school staff. So then fall of 2024, and a little bit before that for training, we'll turn that over to school staff to get them trained, to get them comfortable with the system. So we have about a year runway to get the things in place so we're not rushing.
Yeah, I wanted Mr. Blank to share PowerSchool with everybody here since we are purchasing it, so that when you hear them talking about PowerSchool, you know what we're talking about. But also, we're going to take our time to implement it. It's a very heavy lift, and so we want to make sure we try to respect everybody who's trying to learn it, and from IT clear the whole way through to everybody else who will be trained on it afterwards. So that's why we're having the timeline that we have. And right now, that's a draft. If for some reason we run into something that's going to make it go a little slower with steps, we'll slow down so that people aren't overwhelmed if need be. But so we'll be back to talk about the implementation after IT has their arms wrapped around it and have had a time to strategize with instruction. So it'll probably be towards the spring when we'll come back and talk about the implementation of Power School.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you working hard on that, and Dr. Caldwell, Mr. Van Slyke, and everybody. I know you guys are working hard. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we're going to move ahead to unfinished business, which consider repealing administrative goals policy CA. Mr. Llewellyn.
You have before you for second reading for repeal policy CA administration goals. As discussed at the last board meeting, policy committee reviewed this as part of its review of older policies. The board has a process for setting annual goals for the superintendent, and so we felt this one was outdated and not necessary. So policy committee recommends repeal.
And motion to repeal.
Motion to repeal second reading
Mrs. Bender.
of administrative goals file CA.
Motion to second, repeal of administrative goals CA.
Ms. Lepley. All those in favor? We're good. Consider repealing superintendent's cabinet and council policy and regulations, file CE. Mr. Llewellyn.
This is also on second reading, and it's the same reasoning. It's not exactly what the superintendent does now, and so most of the meat was in the regulation, which we reviewed for repeal last time. So now we're just on to the policy. There are terms in here that no longer have significance that probably meant something in 2005. Again, felt like this one. The policy committee felt this one could be repealed and recommends it.
Motion to repeal.
Move to repeal second reading, Superintendent's Cabinet Council Policy and Regulations, File CE.
Dr. Bond.
Second.
Second by Crystal Bender. All those in favor? Okay. Consider second reading of school attendance area policy, file JC. Mr. Llewellyn.
If you'll recall, policy committee spent a lot of time, months, in fact, working on a new school attendance areas policy and regulation. Almost all of the changes were in the regulation, which you reviewed last time. So we're asking for adoption of the new policy JC tonight, and then I'm going to ask you to repeal the old on second reading as well.
I need a motion to approve the second reading of school attendance area policy.
I move to approve second reading of School Attendance Areas Policy, File JC.
Dr. Bond,
Second.
Ms. Lepley? All those in favor? Approved. Consider repealing JC school attendance area, JC, file JC. Mr. Llewellyn.
So this is the existing or the old policy, we'll call it, and since you adopted the new, now I need you to repeal the old.
Need a motion to repeal.
Motion to repeal File JC, School Attendance Areas Policy.
Dr. Bond,
Second.
Ms. Bender, all those in favor? Approved. We're down to hearing constituents. I don't think we have anybody signed, but we do have to jump back to the recognition of the students. Good evening, Mr. Baker. How are you this evening? Good to see you again.
A little nervous today.
Ah, quit that.
Too many good ones are leaving.
Well,
There's a lot of pressure on us. You ready? Well, it's a pleasure to be back at the board meeting for more recognition for kids who really don't understand when to stop. They just keep running and working by themselves, working together, working as relay teams, and working as a unified girls and guys team together. We stretch a lot of times 80 kids, and we go to meets with a real big smile on our face to compete, and then to shake hands when we're done, and to walk away humble. And you know, they just do that, and it's what makes us a really special program. I'm just so proud. I don't know where to start with each one, so I'm going to start with the team first. I'm going to introduce our guys. I'm going to start with Casey because he was the leader of the team. If he wants to come up and just kind of stand here in the front, kind of recognize himself. That's X. Of course not. No, that wouldn't be that one either. That's it. Congratulations. So we're going to give out these, but Casey is he's on his way to Bible College in Ohio. He's the only senior who's not running, and as his coach, am I just so proud of him. He's following a conviction. He's following where his heart is, and I know he's going to be happy. And I also know that he'll be back to running again and as an adult. I've seen his momentum and his trajectory into adult life. He's going to be very successful. So I'm just privileged to bring him up first with our guys team. I'm going to next go with Brendan Klein. Brendan joined us after being an exceptional baseball player. One of the things I don't try to do is recruit kids from other programs. I like the team aspect of basketball and football and soccer, and for somebody on a baseball team to step across and run with us, that tells me he has running in his heart. He's decided to run at Frostburg State with a lot of our graduates. We're immensely proud of him. And I'll say this about the Frostburg State coach. He's looked at our program with kind eyes. He's brought people over that are good, talented athletes, and he's made them better. And he has one here. He has a raw athlete that he's going to make into a really great runner at the collegiate level. Next is Will Haberline. Will started a couple years ago with his twin brother, Andrew. Man, you can't ask for better brothers except to throw Zach in, and then there's 3 of them there I got to deal with. But, man, they just are just special kids. They work so hard. Andrew's a sprinter in the 100 and the 200, and he's really up against it downstate. We run into some really fast speed. His heart's there all the time, and then Will jumped up to the 4 and 8 and just found his calling. We were open 15 years as a school. This is our 16th year. Nobody ever broke the 2-minute barrier, and Will broke it at 1:57 at the state meet. It was just something to see. I let Casey slip by without telling you he set our school record. He took an exchange student off our board. He put a local kid on our board. His time should have won the state championship, but he was up against another kid that was just so exceptional. And after it was all over, both of those two, congratulating the people that beat them and walking off with smiles knowing that they really gave it their all. It's just something to see. Last is Ackerley, and Ackerley's our junior. He has the responsibility of filling these 3 people. I don't know how we're going to do that, except we do have kids that are working. A couple times down the stretch, he was our strongest runner. He's a little bit bigger than the other guys and really hung in there as an underclassman. And just to see how much they accepted him into the team, too, just tells you his work is right there with theirs. So that's our boys' team. Our 4x8 team, they're 3-time defending state champions, 2-time indoor state champions. It's an incredible challenge to keep doing that. And we have a challenge next year because Liberty, who won their race in 7:59, beat us at 8:04, even though we have the state record now. And they're coming down to 1A, so we have a challenge that we're going to accept, and that's Axe calling. It's to make sure that his guys are ready to take on that team and see if we can't replicate this. And then last but not least, how do you introduce Mary? I mean, for her last time here, except for she's probably accomplished something that nobody at the state level will ever do. She set state records in the 800 the 1600, and the 3200. And these were state records that stamped her name for years to come. She had very little push from behind. It was all in her heart and all in her legs to do that. At the end of the race, she set a personal best of 2:14. She missed the school record but broke the state record. And she smiled at me and said, "It's okay." And what kind of a runner would do that except for one that's worked that hard? That personal best, as far as I'm concerned, is always better than a school record. That's what you work at. That's why we come to work every day. That's what we take away from after our competition. And we did a lot of personal bests this year. So Mary's going to go to West Virginia and run. I can't tell her how many times people asked me where she was going. She was the queen of the state of the region. She was the queen of the state championship. And there are really good girls. This athlete at Allegany, I don't want to speak to her too. She is an exceptional athlete. Our county is just really gifted. We have a thrower from Fort Hill that just throws it further than anybody else. And at our meets, our kids root for each other. At the region, they root for each other. And at the state meet, they were some of the first people to congratulate me, people from other schools. So you don't earn respect without being a good person. And these are 5 really good ones. And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Hang on. Congratulations. I want to hear about the relay a minute. Did all clean handoffs obviously to set the record, right? And how many times is that through your meets? When did you have that down that you're always concerned about it? But how did you get meshed so well to be able to just the handing off is my first question.
Well, since it's a distance relay, it's really compared to sprint relays, it's definitely not as stressful because you kind of have a bit more leeway because you're just not coming in so fast and the person who's receiving it isn't moving so fast. So typically we just practice a few handoffs after practice each day, especially as it got down to the wire towards regionals and states. But
when you're setting a record, you can't, I don't care whether it's a long distance or short distance, you're taking every step possible. And what did you all, as a team, who ran the last leg? Okay, I've seen you run. I didn't know if it changes at times, but the other 3, were you thinking he's got it?
Yes.
That day it was on. In other words.
Yeah,
Neat.
If we get it to him in the lead, we're good.
Okay. Congratulations, Mary. My question for you: which one's your favorite? The events. Which one?
Probably the 800.
The 800. Well, congratulations. You all represent the school in Allegany County and the community so well. And the only other thing I want to say today is, Coach Baker, you're the true definition of coach.
Thank you.
You can't get a better compliment than that. These kids, like you said, when you win, when you lose, when you get a PR, no matter what happens, I've watched it. Nobody's making anything up. I've seen these kids cheering for others. If they had a bad day, it's not a bad day for everybody else. They congratulate. So great job, Coach.
Thank you. I did forget one thing. And I want to make sure I mention this because I mentioned about the Haberline brothers. But the relationship between Mary and Anna also is something that, as a parent, it just speaks volumes because Mary would not be the runner she is without her sister Anna. And I can say that wholeheartedly. And Anna will be coming back next year as a senior. So we'll have Ackerley and Anna, hopefully, to run our different sides of our team. But I don't. Sometimes you get thinking about records, and then something bumps you in the back and says, it's more about records. It's a lot more about people. And brothers and sisters, we had a bunch of them this year, and it was a real pleasure. Thank you again.
You're more than welcome to stay. You're more than welcome to go. We have some more groups coming in, and then we have some real fun business later. If you want to hang around for that, you're more than welcome.
All right. Hi. Good. I'm here tonight to present to you Carter Hess. He is our state champion in the discus from Fort Hill High School. And Carter is definitely one of the most humble athletes that I've ever had a chance to coach. He's definitely one that will show you his talent instead of tell you about his talent, and very quiet and goes in the discus ring every single time and just takes care of business. He started throwing for us as a freshman, which was that shortened COVID year. And he did very well, won his very first meet even back then. Broke our freshman discus record that year. That was set by Bob Giffen in the late 70s, I believe, sometime like that. And then his sophomore year, he also broke the sophomore record. Started out the season this year by breaking our overall varsity record. That was a 21-year-old record at Fort Hill High School. So for the past 2 years, he has never not won the discus event, which gives him 24 wins in a row from our local area all the way to the state. This year, when he went down to the state championship, not only did he win the state championship, but he broke the 1A state record. His throw was 168 feet even, and he did that under a large amount of pressure with a large crowd, and he handled it with class. That record was a 20-year-old record from a guy out of Williamsport. So he's only a junior, and we're looking forward to a lot farther throws next year out of Carter. So, I guess that's...
Carter,
Mr. Blank wants to say something.
junior, right?
Yes.
And so what's next?
Football.
No, it was then. It was still
And then,
football.
and then
And back to discus, probably.
you're done with the wrestling, or you're just not sure?
That's to be found out, I guess.
The leg okay?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And you're going to get him ready to actually continue even throw it further
Yeah,
next
we're
year? Is
gonna
that
set the
possible?
Overall state record, it's set at 200 feet by a guy from Frederick who actually throws for India, Vikas Gowda. So why not go for it, right?
That's right. Congratulations.
Second.
Who's next?
Good evening. My name is Chad Nippenberg. I'm the unified track coach at Fort Hill High School. We have 3 of our student athletes here this evening that I'd like to present, and I'll present them individually. But I want to thank Mr. Blank and the Board of Ed for all of their support, along with Ms. Kane and administration, and of course the parents as well for all of their support through. This has been a great group. It's been a fun group. They've done a very good job throughout the track season. They went down to PG County in Lanham and performed just as well, if not better. And I'll go ahead and start introducing them first. Amos, you can come on up, buddy. Come on up here. Here, go ahead and stand up. Okay. You want to stay right here? Okay. This is Amos Stickley. Okay, he's a 9th grader, brand new to the Fort Hill Unified program. Did a fantastic job. He was a distance runner for us during the season, but then we had to make a quick change, and he had to do a short distance, and he did a really, really good job. Also did the field event with the softball throw and placed very well in that. And this is Amos Stickley. Good job. Okay, next, Karis, if you want to come up, please. And all 3 of these students are in our all 3 unified sports, so they love participating, and they do a great job. This is Karis Canfield. Karis is a sophomore. He'll be with us again next year. Did a fantastic job in the 100. I think he placed first for his group. He also did the shot put as well, and he was on a relay team that placed second. So this is Karis Canfield. Congratulations, buddy. Okay, and last but not least is Emily Carroll. Emily Carroll is a senior, and she has been a part of the Unified Sports team for, 4 years, right? All 4 in all 3 sports. She did a great job in the 100, and the softball throw as well. And she was a part of Karis's relay team as well. So this is Emily Carroll. Thank you, guys.
Coach, you had one senior with you?
One senior.
One senior?
Yep.
And how many are on the, I was at the awards that day. I couldn't remember exactly how many were on your team.
There was 17.
17?
Yep.
Okay. Chad, Sarah, congratulations, both of you, with your leadership and coaching with these students. Congratulations to our students, all of them, and their parents and their support teams. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. Good job. Gotcha.
Well, good evening. My name is Bill Hughes, Allegany High School. I'm the head boys track coach and the head girls cross country coach, going to my second year there. And it's a pleasure to be here tonight, especially with these two young ladies as we go forward. Brandy, our shot put and discus queen of Allegany. Yeah, come on up.
Come on up, my coach. Just stand over my coach.
Oh. So I've had the privilege of watching her progress for the last 2 years. And it's been amazing what she's been able to accomplish. And let me back up by saying our coach, Dave Lancaster, was unable to be here tonight, so I'm in his stead. But a couple things about Brandy. She always has a smile on her face at practices and back and forth with the guys and whatnot and the coach. You know, there's good chemistry there as they work together. But like a lot of our athletes, if not all of them, she puts everything she has into it. And I think that shows results over the last couple years that I've, again, been aware of her and walking around. So it wasn't enough to set a school record last year. She did it this year, and then she did it again, and then she did it again, and then she won the state championship. So it's a pleasure to have her as part of our team. She's a role model in many ways. She also competes with cheer and does a lot with that. So she's one of those athletes that doesn't let moss grow under her feet, you know. So we're privileged to have her there, and we get her for one more year. So we're very, very happy about that. So I want to congratulate Brandy on behalf of Dave and Allegany and the board for everything that you've done. Okay?
Thank you.
Brandy, I have a question while you're up. When you were throwing, were you feeling it? Or like when you threw it, did you know everything was perfect that throw that it was going to do it? Or walk me through it.
I don't know. I just kind of, sometimes I can feel, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a good throw. But I just kind of go for it. It just kind of happens.
And then the training for next year, what's the strategy, Coach?
Throw farther.
Good answer.
Yeah, throw farther. And speed and her technique, do some fine tuning in there to squeeze out a few more inches, maybe another foot. And also in discus. She does well in discus and shot. So Although I think shot, she would say, is her
How
number
close
one.
was second?
I actually don't recall.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had it all the way?
I don't remember.
Okay. All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Avery Miller. It's been a pleasure as well. She's a sophomore, finished her sophomore, so her freshman and sophomore years, I've been able to see her do what she does. As you may know, she's 4 sports. It's not just track. She's in 4 sports and excels in each. And that's with a work ethic that most of us could only hope to have, you know, as she goes through her daily routines. I know, as an example, we were preparing for state, and we had just concluded our warm-up, our drills. And so we gathered, you know, the people together, and we're getting ready to talk about the coaches what to do. And I look over, and Avery wasn't finished yet. You know, she went back out on the track and did a bit more of practice some drills and so forth, and karaoke and some other things. Not the singing karaoke, there's a that you do. My point is this, she never gives up. She never gives up. And to have seen her get a couple golds last year at state was, you know, it was just a blessing, you know. And who would have thought we'd come back this year and she really blessed us as she was able to accomplish 4. I mean, to tell you, she's the work pays off. And here again, you may ask, what do you do different? She just works hard. It's a work ethic. I have no doubt that she has some natural talent, absolutely none. But I'm convinced that it's her work ethic that takes her to that level where she is today. And I believe if you would ask her, she's not finished yet. And she hasn't reached that height or that pinnacle that she wants to achieve. So for her, you know, the future's in her hands. And we were just talking about a different sport maybe for next year, or a different event, rather, that we may try next year. And that's Avery. You know, what can I do different? Okay, let's move on. Let's challenge, you know, and see what I can do with that. I think that's pretty much Avery Miller in a nutshell.
Congratulations. Avery, tell me, of the 4 events you're in, which one is your favorite?
100 meter.
100?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was tired when I saw you fly by. I don't know how you do that. It's like she starts off, and then about halfway, not even sooner than halfway, then all of a sudden it's like a different gear, and it's just bang. Which one of the 4 events, which one was the one that was close? Anybody close to you?
In long jump,
Mhm.
after I was finished all my 3 events, like I was just like dead, and so I had 1 more jump to go, I think, or 2, and there was a girl that was like 1 inch ahead of me in the long jump, and so then I just had to like
Pressure was on then.
Yeah.
Huh? And did your second jump or third jump?
The one right after that, so
Okay.
second before last, I got her. Yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations, and congratulations, Coach.
Okay, thank you very much.
And staff, parents, thank you.
So
Congratulations.
girls, have a certificate for branding. You'll come up. And Avery. Thank you very much. Okay.
We have no one signed up to speak, so we're into new business. Oh, sorry. Wow. Consider approval of the fiscal year 24 operating budget. Mr. Larry McKenzie.
Okay, does anyone have any additional questions about the budget that I can answer?
Motion to approve the 2024 operating budget as presented by Mr. McKenzie earlier.
Motion by Ms. Fraley,
Second.
second by Dr. Bond. All those in favor? It's approved. Now, Dr. Bond, you have another motion?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to move to direct Mr. Blank to amend the budget in regard to security with an increase of $250,000 to fund support of expanding our school security needs.
Second.
Second by Ms. Bender. All those in favor?
Can we have a little bit of discussion
Yep.
first?
Sure.
Just to make sure. So, to be clear, this is a request to amend the budget and pull from the fund balance. Is that correct? Just to make sure we're stating it correctly.
That's my understanding.
My
of it.
understanding.
Okay. And therefore, just want it to be noted that when we get into next year, after this year, that we need to consider that moving forward into the regular budget of FY '25 and forward. Thank you.
I do say that every year, and even in our goals this year, we have put in our increasing security in the schools. The big question that came about in this is finding good qualified individuals, and that's, I think, what we're trying to say to Mr. Blank. If we can find good qualified individuals, that we could hire them for the next year, for the next school year.
Mhm.
Okay.
Good.
We need to vote. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Consider approval of the special education staffing plan for 2024. Ms. Matheny.
Good evening. As you know, every year we're required to have a staffing plan put forth before the board and ask for your approval. And so that's what I'm here to do this evening. Very briefly, I just wanted to touch on a couple of pieces. Maintenance of effort is an important part of our plan. We're required to not use federal special ed funds to reduce the level of expenditures from local funds for the education of students with disabilities. We will meet maintenance of effort this year, and we'll meet the criteria established in IDEA concerning maintenance of effort. So our total expenditures for state and local funds in FY22 was $19,187,364. We're budgeted at $20,926,061 for FY24. So we do meet that standard. Application of funds, we have received the application for our federal funds in the amounts that you see. $2,375,069 in our pass-through funds, which do fund staff. There's an additional $39,917 for private school. Our local implementation for results funds, $232,439 are funds that we can direct in the areas of transition, early childhood, and access, equity, and progress. There's $2,500 for our required special ed advisory committee. Another $64,677,000 for preschool special education, with a sum there as well for private school. $16,000 required for our family partnership, and our infant and toddlers receive another $260,076. The application for those funds are due and will be submitted on June the 14th. When we look at our service providers needed, Allegany County currently has 1,199 students receiving special ed services. That is a slight increase over the prior year. Most of that increase is seen in children ages birth to 5. We attempt to maintain a ratio of 1 teacher for every 12 to 15 students. For our related services, we have both full-time and contracted personnel. We currently have 500 students receiving occupational therapy and 298 students receiving physical therapy. For our speech and language pathologist caseloads, we attempt to maintain those at approximately 50 per therapist. And right now we have 814 students in the county receiving speech therapy. Our teaching positions break down in the following way. We have 98.4 full-time teaching positions in the county. That is an increase of 3, which was in our local budget, and those 3 are all at the birth to 5 age level to deal with the rise that we're seeing there with children that age. We have 102 full-time instructional assistants. That number is maintained over the prior year. We have 37.5 part-time or contractual instructional assistants. That's an increase of 0.5 positions over the prior year. We have 29.4 related service providers and 26.2 SEFs and specialists, also maintained over the prior year. So we're seeking to have the staffing plan approved as written. It was presented to the Special Ed Citizens Advisory Committee yesterday, as is required, and did receive their approval. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have and respectfully ask for the plan to be approved.
Motion to approve the special education staffing plan for FY24 as presented.
I second the motion.
Motion by Ms. Fraley, second by Ms. Lepley. Any discussion? All those in favor? Good.
Thank you.
We need to vote to meet in executive session August 15th as necessary. I need a motion for that.
Motion to meet in executive session August 15th as necessary.
Motion by Ms. Fraley,
Second.
second by Ms. Bender. All those in favor? There will not be a meeting in July, so we will, you get the summer off. We won't meet till August 15th, which will be a week later than the normal meeting. So just everybody try to put that in your calendars. So we'll do that. Student member is not here this evening. Any board member updates? Hearing none. I need a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Dr. Bond?
Second.
Ms. Bender? All those in favor? We are adjourned.